All right, welcome back to the podcast. This is Just Some BS podcast. I always forget to say that at the beginning. Today we have Joe Dalton on. And Joe, I'm going to run through your CV here that like you have on your LinkedIn because I have an interesting question. So you have investor, author, speaker, business mentor, podcaster, leadership through brand sales, close the deal, growth strategist, multiple verticals, award-winning, trusted advisor, TEDx, USA, EU, B2B, B2C. First question, is there anything you cannot do?
Play an instrument.
My go-to on that question is tennis. I am horrible at tennis, but okay, play an instrument.
Yeah, going to learn the piano, but I'm actually going to learn 5 songs, and I'm going to learn them extremely well because I have this belief that piano it's keys, as we know, and if I memorize where these keys are, these 5 songs, that's the goal with on the music.
Is it for a party trick or just to prove you can do it?
Party trick.
Would do the same thing just to say you can. That's awesome. What 5 songs? Now I'm interested.
Oh God, they'd probably some traditional Irish songs.
Okay.
There may be a bit of Moon River because my mother loved Moon River as well. And who knows,
Okay.
so I'll have
Amazing.
They have to be, and you're dead right. They have to be spot on because. And they have to be songs that have lasted time.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right. Because you can't go down an alley and then it's like, it's a one-hit wonder and you spent all that time memorizing something that's shit now.
Bing, 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 bing. Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome.
On podcasting, you mentioned there, tennis. People say to me, why do I podcast? And I've been podcasting, since 2016, 2017.
Wow.
And I've said to them, it says, because I'm really, really bad at golf.
Well, it takes up less time than golf does.
Less gadgets. I have a war chest of golf memorabilia up in the attic, from ball fishing to, anyway. Yeah.
Well, thank you for coming on. Very excited. You were actually my first out of the country guest. So there's a first for everything. So thank you, Joe, for actually agreeing to do this. Podcast question. What's the hardest and best part for you?
Hardest and best part is my podcast is called Getting It Wrong to Get It Right. That probably answers it. I need to be critiqued all the time. So, I'm always want to be better myself. I have a producer, stroke engineer, and I'm always questioning them, how can I be better? How can I be better? If I can be better, it means that the show can develop and grow. Yeah. So I'm quite hard on myself when it comes to that. I've been told I'm a very strong work ethic, but I'm always trying to be better because I think the best thing that we can actually do is invest in ourselves. The biggest gift, the greatest thing we can do is that. Yeah.
Yeah, it's really good. What's been the most surprising aspect of podcasting for you? The
amount of people that find it confusing or believe that it's something bigger than what it is.
Yeah. I totally agree to that. I was just talking to someone this morning. I think it takes about 2 hours of my time, an hour to record with a person a week, and then probably an hour for the afters and the befores the next episode. Riverside or programs like this make it super simple on the back end. Like it does a lot of the editing for you. It can make it super clean. Pulling clips and all that stuff is fairly fast now with AI and everything that's implemented.
AI has, changed the game on it. Where we'd give it to an engineer and just about 3-4 hours taking the ums and the ahs out of it now. But we use Zoom and we use Premiere Pro. We're just testing some AIs with that. But, for me, I built up my brand through podcasting. And it's not even about podcasting. The truth, I'm not even bothered if 2 people listen to my podcast.
I'm kind of the same way.
Yeah, the ego and that whole part of gone. It's the conversation that I have with people and the relationship that's built from that. Yeah.
Yes, I 100% agree. I think what was surprising for me was like it's a little bit selfish for me in the sense of I get to like read a book for an hour. Like, because I'm talking to people who are usually really smart in certain subjects that I'm really weak in, and like you just gain so much knowledge in a short hour of people's passions that it's like, holy crap! Come out with a completely different mindset on something.
Curiosity, yeah. It's I'll tell you a funny story if we've time.
Yeah,
many years ago, I did an interview on a radio show, and then they said, "Would you do your own show? And have you done radio before?" And I went, Yeah, I have. So they said, look, what's the show? And I said, oh, Breakthrough Brands. And they went, great. So I did a proposal and said, yeah, we like it. We'd like to run with it. And I went in to do the first show on the radio. And I went into the bathroom and I looked in the mirror and I grabbed the sink like this. And I looked in the mirror and I looked straight in the mirror. I said, excuse my language, what the F are you doing here? And I wanted to climb out the window.
You scared, huh?
Do you know the oh my God, I'm going to make an ass of myself. Went in, sat down, and they said the show was brilliant. So I went, okay, yeah.
So what got you over that hump?
Do it. The only problem that we have, I did a talk there last week on resilience, breaking the habit at a conference, at a talk. And it's all about, self-belief, self-care, self-concern, self-doubt. And the only thing that actually stops us is ourselves.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's so brilliant, because we can wrap our minds around making something so complicated and so scary. But sometimes, as the kids say today, just send it and see what happens.
Yeah, but it's only a big thing in our own heads. And when it happens, you look back at it and you go, well, wasn't that big at all? So yes. We create the monster ourselves. Actually, we don't create it. It goes back to our childhood.
Ooh.
When you're a child and you're sitting there playing with your blocks and your parents are in the corner talking, you're not engaged in them, but your brain waves between the ages 6 and 2 and 6 are in a hypnotic and that they are in a suggestible brainwave. So you're picking up all this stuff. So if your parents are in the corner talking about lack, or your parents are in the corner talking about something unknown to yourself, you're absorbing these things in, because that's how the brain develops at different brainwaves at different ages. And as you get older, you believe then those thoughts in your subconscious mind, because our subconscious mind runs this meat suit that we're in. So you have to understand that and face it. And once you do that, then you're going to liberate yourself as well.
Ooh, well, that's amazing. So the whole sponges thing, that's it's the scientific fact behind the sponge mentality. Yeah, that's really good. Oh, man.
You are not your thoughts. I say that to people. It says you're not their thoughts, and they look at me and they says you're not and your belief systems aren't your own. And they look at me and they go, well, they're not, because they're created by other people's opinions, and only when you face your own beast in the mirror, and that's guilt and shame and envy. And most people will never face guilt, shame, or envy because it terrifies them too much. But once you do face it, you actually free yourself that you can actually do great things then.
That's really good. So I'm assuming the question around are leaders built or born, you would sit on the built side of that equation, because of environmental factors.
Yeah, what I think makes, in my opinion, really good leaders, one of the factors, possibly they had an asshole of a leader in the past as well.
What not to do.
And that ass, was a tyrant. Yeah. And they kind of went, when I'm older and wiser and a leader, I know, I don't need to be to polarity. I know that I didn't need to not be like them. Duality. It's a word, duality.
That's interesting, because I can reference times in my career when it was so awful, but it made me, I give it credit to giving me times where I'm not scared of things anymore, because when you go through that work career trauma, like everything beyond that is a cakewalk because you've been through some horrible stuff.
Yeah. Knowledge and wisdom is the greatest gift that we have. Like, even the really crap stuff that happens to us, we should be looking at them to go, okay, I can experience this at this moment in time.
Yeah.
But it's allowing me to be aware and love the good stuff, because I can't experience one without the other.
Yeah.
And if I just hold fast, this bad stuff will pass. And there's the difference between resilience and toxic resilience.
What do you mean?
Well, toxic resilience is going, great, everything's wonderful, brilliant. How's the business? It's fine. I'm doing really good. And what's happening is there's a build-up of pressure, and it's like a dam cracking. and it bursts, and that's where people have, major breakdowns or whatever it may be. And all it needed for them not to have that is the spoken word, is them to speak to someone and let someone help them. It's okay to talk.
That's really interesting. I'm going to say that probably 1,000 times this podcast, but I preach about peer groups because I remember going through imposter syndrome when I got into my leadership role, and peers is what got me out of that, right? Just talking through, you're good. Talking through anything that I couldn't process out myself. I needed an outside perspective to say, okay, we've been here. This is what the other side looks like, but right now you can't see it. And I couldn't have got through some of the situations without that group.
Yeah. I'm working on another talk, and I think it needs to be put out in the open, and it'll probably rattle the feathers of certain people. And that's masculinity and toxic masculinity. And collectively as a culture, we failed our youth.
What do you mean?
Well, collectively, they have been bashed. Our men, young men, have been bashed to believe that, masculinity is bad. And it's not. Toxic masculinity is bad. And they are confused because no one's shown them right for wrong. And so they're going around. There is a mass suicide in young men around the world. They feel lost because, the brain doesn't really develop till you're about 25, fully developed. And they're very impressionable, even though they think they're men, they're children, and it's about letting them know what real masculinity is. And that's about honor, trust, ethics, responsibility, accountability, knowing what your values are, knowing what values are, understanding that, men are stronger than women. And, a woman should feel safe when men are around. And men should be here to mind and protect women and children. And it's a conversation that needs to be had. So I'm fleshing out a talk on that. Yeah.
When you come across, so I want to ask one question before I get into this other one. Can you give me some traits of toxic masculinity, just for clarification?
Impotent men that are weak.
Okay.
And prey on.
I was going to use the word prey.
Yeah.
Okay.
And we could even go into, you talk about, we had a-hole leaders in the past, maybe them, and it is a case of someone who is in a greater power, but only if for their own ego and their own desire will sacrifice whoever around them and will run from whatever. And, as someone said to me, it's the top guys sitting on a pile of, cow manure. They just want to sit at the top of it. And, I always ask people about, would you rather be a warrior or a hero? And they look at me and I say, look, a hero is based around ego and wanting to know what everyone thinks I'm a hero. But a warrior is silent and ready to die.
So when you come across a topic that is bothering you, right? I'm assuming
nothing bothers me.
I'm assuming this came to you somehow and you said, Eureka, this needs to be talked about. How do you start? What's your process, especially if it's going to be, I'm assuming, like a keynote or something that you're going to really dial down? It's almost like, I think of it almost like a comedic process, like almost a stand-up, but you're obviously, it's not a funny aspect. It's something that's real and it's something you want to get your point across because you think it's important. What does that process look like for you to start fleshing that out?
Well, for me, it's like any talk. When you're going up on stage and talking at a conference, you first break down everything that you want to say. So I do a word brain dump. I could have lots of stuff there. My mind works. I'm very concise with what I want to say. Like, you tell me once, you don't need to tell me 3 times. I do it. And, so I break it down, and then I have to kind of go, okay, this is an overload for the audience. So I need to then break this down into something that is palatable for them to absorb. And then from there, I look at what are the key 3 things that I want to get across. So a talk has 5 parts. The starting 5 minutes to grab their attention. Then you have the start. Then there's the 3 elements that you want to touch into, and then there's the wrap up at the end. Yeah.
Since you have, I'm assuming, a photographic memory based on what you just said, is this?
No, I don't. Where am I? Where am I? Where am I? Oh my God!
Was speaking a natural progression for you based on like your kind of career? Is that something you always aspired to, or did you kind of fall into it based on your skill set?
Skill sets. Being dyslexic, I had to develop my mind in a different way. So I had to, memorize more of what's being said. So, in school, I could sit down with a teacher in English or religion and debate something for hours with them. But then when it came down to sitting down to do the exam, it would be far from the conversation that I had with them.
Interesting.
So for me, it was being able to adapt and loving language and loving communication. And the world revolves around communication. At 13, I was selling baked potatoes at a stand, and someone handed me money for a baked potato. And I went, Jesus Christ, this is easy. This is easy. And I kind of fell into the art of communication and the art of how people, body language and rapport. I've just been fascinated about that. I'm no expert on it. But I have my own interest in it. And it's funny, we're talking about this because, I hear the word legacy sales. Legacy sales doesn't work. And I always wonder, what the hell is legacy sales if it doesn't work? I've been using and teaching the same principles in sales that works today. So other people that talk about legacy sales, they're not really sure what it is. Now, the platforms have changed of what we do, but sales is about communication. Like, sales is about attention, creating interest. It's about that. It's about creating desire and close. They have been the principles of selling, we're going back as far as Jesus. Like, if you even think about it, Plato and Socrates were talking about good communication, and they were, it's about rapport and relationships and everything. Sales has gone back from year dot.
Yeah, you make it sound so easy, but it's not for so many people, including myself. I think, like, I don't view myself as it's so. I don't ever view myself in the core of what a sales. I don't think I'm a salesy person. I don't think I have that ability. But when you break it down the way you just said it, then anyone can be. And I choose to use this type of platform or social media or personal branding or that to be a salesperson for multiple avenues, including metal fabrication. Like, because if I'm interesting, and people will go, where does this person work? And then it automatically brings a notification and
attention, creating interest.
Exactly. And so I don't
believing in your product, which is conviction, creating the desire in them. And closing is not about selling. It's about the person recognizing what you have is a good deal and they buy it.
Yeah. And I think maybe I'm caught up in the facade of what sales is for some people when it's really not.
You give me a person that is really bad at sales and I'll make them an average salesperson. You give me someone that is really good at sales, I'll make them a top earner.
With the same philosophy.
Same principles. The only thing that they have to have is enthusiasm. And the one thing which, when you were really good at something, you lose confidence. And people like to deal with people that are confident.
Okay.
And people look up to people that are confident because people really don't like to think either. In case they feel they get it wrong. It's like we teach people not to ask someone, what do you think of that? Because people don't want to think just in case they're made a fool of, be getting it wrong. So we ask people, what's your opinion? Because everybody loves to give their opinion.
That's so true. That's such a subtle change, but makes all the difference.
Massive difference.
And it's just a little bit of psychology.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like if someone says, I don't like your roofing. Why? You kind of say, obviously is a low grade, so I'm interested. You have a reason for saying that. Do you mind if I ask what it is? So you're using your tonality. And they'll go, I don't like the color of it. And, and you can go, well, yeah. So just supposing for a moment, see why I just said that? Just supposing for a moment, the color was not a concern. Then in your opinion, do you feel if our product would benefit you? So what I've done there, I've addressed to see if the objection is real or fake. I've stopped asking them why. I've dropped in the word obviously, which then is soothing. I brought them back into the conversation, which makes it more relaxed. And I'm trying to rule out to see if is it just an objection to because people need to have these concerns to verify it or to see if it is a real one. And it's not even objections. I'm trying to remove that word because as we move forward, it's concerns. People have concerns and people usually don't want to tell you the real thing. So they may have 2, 3 concerns before you address the right concern. And then when you find that the right concern is there, you turn that into a question. And it can be easy as, so that brings up a question. And the question is, would you like to go with our product despite the color of the cladding? Is that the question?
You make it sound so easy. But word usage, like you said, you're obsessed with language. It's very important. All of those words you just chose were specific and had a reason. Is that the difference between a top salesperson and an average salesperson is the ability to, in the time, comprehend and be able to manipulate the approach?
Not a manipulate. Yeah, not a manipulate. It's to be able to have that conversation with someone that actually is relaxed and it's not a sales pitch, it's a conversation. And it's able to both people to be very relaxed. And yes, the words are crucial. And if you go back to your fact finding, your discovery, finding out from that person, in that part of it, you'd say what you like about our colors, what you like about our cladding, what about the cladding you have, what are you doing? So there's an element in the conversation which reduces the concerns or the objections at the end if you've done that correct. And if you do that really correct, you'll have very little objection or no objection at the end because you've addressed them up front in the conversation. And you're trying to clarify wants, needs, authority, time, money. These are all the conversational fact-finding blueprinting that you have. And you can then verify if that person is a good fit for you. And at that say, you bring them on or you say goodbye instead of getting them all right through the whole thing and then trying to close them or the objection. You've just wasted your time.
Yeah. I can actually remember probably the best sales pitch I ever went through. And it was a person selling me leaf guards for my gutters. And it was only like maybe a year ago. And what was amazing about it, I thought, was the person had all of the competitors' samples in their vehicle and laid them all out and say, like, you don't have to go with me. These are all the things that are available right now to you. And this is the prices for those. And he was very honest. And it like, you're right. It was so relaxing. It was a conversation. It was educational. It was like, well, I could live with that, but do I really want to have to do the maintenance side of that? Right. So we went through the whole thing and it was a no brainer at the end. And I knew what was going on in the middle of it. It just hooked me right in the mouth. And that's the best part about it is you actually can comprehend what's happening, but it's so good. And it's something that you don't want to not have.
Here's something for you. And I say this at the beginning if I'm doing a sales training course. We're all buyers. Remember when you bought something of value, a car, a freezer, a TV, something of, high value, and you're the buyer. I want you to go and think about the sales guy that was speaking to you. He probably walked you through all these parts and you bought it. You did not feel that you were sold to. You just listened to him and you bought it. Now, the sales guy who was selling you that TV, he's probably going, I hope this person going to buy. I'm going to ask him this. So his train of thoughts is completely different to what you're doing. But you as a buyer bought it without any thinking that you were sold to because we're all really good at buying. So if you take that and then bring that when you're selling to someone as a conversation, They don't think they're being sold to. They're actually just in a conversation to see if it's a right decision for them or not.
Why do so many people get it wrong? Like my DMs are full of bad sales pitches.
Frustration, knowledge.
What do you mean by frustration? Just wanting to check the box and move on to the next one? Just wanting success faster?
Probably wanting success faster. Could be that they have hit a quota. Maybe they've done a weekend course in something. They need money.
Gotcha.
But it's really about practice. Excuse me with my cough.
No, you're good.
It's about practice. Like I've won awards for selling. I've won holidays. I've won cash bonuses. I've won multiple things. You know, in my 20s, I was shown how to sell, and it changed my life. So I think it's a gift. I think every entrepreneur, every business owner should invest into time on how to sell.
Do you find it easier selling for yourself than you did other products? Well, let me ask this differently. Do you have to believe in what you're selling to sell it correctly?
I think you do.
Okay.
I think you do.
This is blowing my mind for all of you. Joe's running to get some water because he was sick last week and he still did this for me. So huge thanks to him. So yeah, I don't consider myself a salesperson. I don't even think I'm good at sales, but this is quickly changing my philosophy. And I'm sitting here, if you're not watching, thinking deeply. I see a puppy. Yay! This is fascinating.
Showbiz, huh?
No, you're good. Yeah, I was just pondering with the audience about how this is flipping the script on my approach to sales. Just in my mental capacity of like what that's supposed to look like. Because I feel like the pieces you're saying, I could learn those skills and be good at that. But yeah, I just was taught wrong, I guess. I was never really even taught, to be fair.
People think selling is talking. You know, oh, he's a great talker. He can sell sand to the Arabs. Talk. and most people will talk and buy the product back because they talk too much.
Ooh, what do you mean by buy the product back?
The person that bought it. And you have to watch the body language. A salesperson will talk to someone and the person has bought it. And you have to look at the body language and listen to the words they're saying. And at that time, you need to wrap things up to move it to that next level. And if a salesperson or professional misses that cue, they'll keep on talking. The person then loses interest and they've actually buy the product back.
Gotcha.
So what are those key elements? Depending on where you are, talking about ownership of it, talking about what happens next in the procedure. You know, so if you are with them, it's touching the product. They become more friendlier. Watching certain cues like that. Again, if you're speaking to someone and they're losing interest, or you're talking about something with your product that they've no interest in. Yeah. Watch their eyes. Their eyes go into spinny. They basically look over your shoulder and go on their holidays. I can give an example. A guy goes into a dealership and looking to buy a car. The sales guy has asked him, the guy's big into the engine. So the guy's talking about the engine. The guy has sparkling eyes. He's open up. He's absorbing it in. So the sales guy brings him around to the boot, the trunk, and opens up the trunk. And he's talking about this. The guy's eyes spin. He's not there to buy the car for the
open
the trunk.
Up the hood.
Yeah, he wants to look under the hood. Yeah.
So now you mentioned principles, and I'm assuming Salescraft, right, is your book. And with that, did you lay down principles? And then how has that evolved with the evolution of social media, the way people consuming media, getting a hold of people after COVID, all that's kind of evolved? How is your process or evolution of your sales approach? Has that changed at all? Principles are still the same, but anything after that change?
COVID, most of my clients are in the States, so I'm based here in Ireland. I used to have to educate people about Zoom. I used to get a pain in my ass going, we do Zoom and we do this. And then COVID kicked in and COVID educated everybody and it went deadly.
Very quickly, you were so you were used to it.
Yeah, I was used to it. Yeah. The principles have changed, like LinkedIn. You know, there's elements of a business to be successful in the 2025. One is LinkedIn is just a Rolodex. You know, it's a telephone directory with details. I use it as I get my clients to use it from a picture in their mind. You network, yeah?
Mm-hmm.
You walk into a room in a networking. You walk up to someone, say hello, shake their hand, how's it going? Ask them what's going on in their business. That's networking. Would you agree with
Yeah,
that?
I'm terrible at that, just to let you know. I'll be the one in the corner on my phone crying.
Yeah, but that's really what it is.
Yeah, it's the right thing to do, correct.
So LinkedIn is networking. So let's break it down into a room. I go onto LinkedIn. I see your profile. So I see you across the room. I send you an invitation request. I'm reaching out to shake your hand. You accept my request. You shake my hand back. I don't need to ask you about your business because I've seen it on your profile. And then we get into a conversation.
I have to say, that's the part that really irritates me about the connection, and then asking me questions about things they could have just looked up online, right? And did a little bit of research to be empathetic to me, to say, okay, this is what's important to this person and their business, and this is what they're good at. But no, it's normally right to a sale. And that bothers me.
For me, I believe in the law of reciprocity. And I teach that in sales craft as well. And there's one thing about people love talking about themselves. If we didn't like talking about ourselves, we wouldn't do podcasts. We wouldn't have guests. You know. So it's about complimenting the person on what they're doing. So people accept compliments, and then giving them something of high value, which they'll benefit. So could be a copy of my book, and that's reciprocity. And then from there, just getting into a conversation, and then maybe jumping on a call or something.
How long did it take you to get really comfortable with the principles and process? Like when you were being taught?
In sales or in LinkedIn?
In sales.
Great question. I was running around like a hare being chased by greyhounds, probably maybe when I found this new fountain of youth knowledge. I'm still learning. But God, you can teach or train a sales team. You could take you between 6 to maybe a year.
Okay.
To really train it, and it's about repeat.
Okay. Yeah, because I get into this mind conversation with myself around consulting and things like that, and and how some people view it as a forever process, and I don't think in that same realm. And it sounds like the principles are
the same.
Yeah, it's just repeating and tweaking, right? The language you're using.
Yeah, but it's learning from every sales conversation. Like sales is like demonstrating your product is the most easiest part of a sales process. Handling concerns comes really enjoyable when you know how to. And the close is the person just recognizing that your product is of value to them. And something that's, used to say people don't buy your product. One is they're unaware that they need it, or you haven't disturbed them enough to know that they do need it.
Yeah.
But the fact finding is really the key, and you have to get really good at fact finding.
And that's in a conversation, and I'm sure prior.
Yeah, that's offering insights, discovery, sharing, letting them talk about all the things, asking them probing questions, all those elements for them to talk. And in there, you ask those moments of where the person opens up and discusses what's going on. There's the key part. And most people don't really put the thought process into that.
Makes sense. So on your consulting side, I want to talk a little bit about that, from helping businesses, entrepreneurs. What's a common barrier you observe that prevent entrepreneurs from achieving like their meaningful life and business like together as like an entire package? Is it's like integration between what's something as a consulting side that you've ran into that has happened multiple times where it's like this juxtaposition for people that have both?
People look to the hill, they don't look over the hill.
What do you mean?
We're always looking at what's in front of us, but we don't look over the hill to see what's the underside. And it's about that future planning and understanding that it's being able to have that team around you that made the right decision, and learning how to delegate, and having trust in your own abilities. Everybody has doubts. I have doubts. You have doubts.
Yep.
It's normal. we all have doubts. And people that have coaches and consultants and people, trusted advisors, are aware that they have them. And they are bringing in an outsource to be able to see those blind spots so the company can grow. And I'm a lover of systems, processes, and behaviors. And system, process, and behavior is an asset to every department in every company. And if you're in a company that they don't have, or most companies don't have that documented, and the beauty of having it documented, if Paul comes in today and does a great job, and then Paul gets run over tomorrow or leaves tomorrow, instead of the company scrambling and taking 6 months to get Susie in, who has to learn everything, she just looks at the playbook and follows the playbook. That's how McDonald's worked.
Yeah, there's a lot of predictability in that, right? And the whole clarity is caring type setup. And yeah, I'm probably too far a process monster because of my project management background. I feel like that really allowed me to systemize a lot of things. And I'm with you. We try to do that with literally everything just because of repeatability and success and repeatability, and then finding those tiny efficiencies in that process, right? To try to make that a little bit better. That's good. I don't consider myself an entrepreneur, but I have a lot of peers who are entrepreneurs, and I see that delegation hiccup when you are the starter or owner of the thing.
What do you see yourself as?
My superpower, I think, is managing people. I don't consider myself having the risk profile to do entrepreneurial things.
Well, an entrepreneur, a business owner, it's just words.
Yeah, it's fair.
And there are people that, when everyone else can't see the spot on the wall, they're the ones that keep pushing through because they can see it in their own head what it is. And it's the real asset of any true business owner is being able to face uncertainty. Because if running your own business was easy, we'd have no employees and everybody would be an entrepreneur.
Maybe I have to change my language, because you are right. They're just words.
It's words. Everything is just words.
And I do catch myself a lot of times I call them crazy ideas, that I can see the fruits of it, but they're sometimes not visible right now. But I know the long game, I feel, is going to benefit from that, So like you said, with that dot on the wall, just keep pushing forward, even though it seems a bit crazy right now.
2 pieces of advice.
Yeah.
One, clarity is the secret to success.
Okay.
And the way I mean that is because most people are unclear on where they want to go. They sort of navigate out in the Pacific, floating around, thinking they're going, and never really get to where they want to be. And the other one is decision making. And most people are fearful of making decisions in case they get it wrong. But decisions can be wrong. But you need to make a decision to move forward. And if that decision then is wrong, you change it and make a new decision. But if you don't make a decision, you just sit there in your boat, flopping around with no wind, and
Yeah. I think communicating, I'm on this path right now of kind of a vision, mission statement, just cause statement, really redefining that for the business. Because I don't think communicating it, we do very well with, including myself. But I'm realizing, like, we did some very specific culture behavior videos and gave them out to our entire company to tell people how we expect people to behave. And I wasn't totally on board with that until we did it. And then I saw huge dividends from doing something like that. And I feel like the current vision, the mission statement, and the just cause for the company is another kind of North Star to keep people, moving in the right direction. And I think, I'm getting on board with why it's so important.
Culture within the company is important. And communication and language, it's what happens inside the organization or what happens outside the organization. And people think that organizations we have to have this great mission statement and let's spend a fortune on writing this thing that no one reads and no one really has value in. And all you need to do, people say to me, what's your unique selling? And I go, just common sense. Speak normal language.
Love that.
It's not trying to outwit. Like, I read some profiles on LinkedIn and I'll read them and go, that's word salad. What the hell is that?
It's the keyword SEO optimization, Joe.
Yeah, but but I'm looking at it and I'm confused. And I still don't know what you do.
Yeah, I get that. I totally get that. And I've been in that boat for a long time, but I do realize the clarity piece that you mentioned is very important. And I think we don't have that right now, even if it's just with the current vision, right? With us, which could be expansion in the next, that's kind of the wave we're trying to push over. And everybody needs to understand the lane and where we're pushing and why.
You find that from your clients. Ask your clients, when you see us, what do you think? When you see us, how can we improve? Why did you come with us? There's a list of questions that we get our clients to ask their clients.
Ooh.
And that information it's to find the true essence of what you do. And it also can be a pivotal moment for an organization when they get the information back from their existing clients and make changes that
gives me like a mini podcast idea of like a mini episode of what customers think, right? And then just have them on for 20 minutes and just ask the questions and let them rip on you. And you can just take the transcript, right? And do whatever you want with it.
And here's the other part as well. AI. People are coming at AI to some people as being as addictive as heroin because they're relying on it too much and losing their creativity and their lateral thinking. And organizations, I predicted about a year, maybe that, 75% of call centers will be gone.
Yep.
Every website will have an AI agent. And every person will have an AI agent. And it's no longer going to be AI or it's no going to be chat. You're going to have a digital workforce.
Yep.
And the new job of the 2025 and on isn't prompt engineers. It's going to be AI workforce coordinators. So that's going to be the human talking to the AI to run the function. And that job is going to be highly valued.
Yep.
I
have found AI has exploded my creativity. Like, I'm almost not scared of trying anything now because I have an expert in my pocket who can walk me through the questions I have right now about anything. Like, when I go to meet someone that I don't know, like I'm not an expert on it, I literally just start hammering, right? Like, just hammering questions to educate myself so much faster on what I'm walking into. And that could be document, that could be people, it could be position, it could be like, I am mechanically deficient, Joe. Like, I can barely hang pictures in my house. So like I have I have Mr. Fix-It on my phone. I take pictures of the model number and say, how do you use this thing? Or I'll load in my tractor manual and say, how do I change my oil? Step by step.
Yeah, look, I've replaced a drum on a washing machine with YouTube in one hand and a wrench in the other.
Yeah.
And did a great job 50 hours later where I could have hired a guy for maybe 1 hour and value of time.
100%. Somebody hit me with that when I replaced our utility sink in the basement, and it took me, what I tell everybody, 6 hours more than it should have taken me, right? And then someone said value of time, and I was like, damn it.
Yeah. It's achievement. You did it. That's the
true.
Key.
Yeah, true. It made me feel good for like 2 hours, but then my back was sore from crouching over the next.
During COVID, I built a decking out the back and had to do it on my own.
Yeah.
And had to, blocks to measure 2 people. I had my wife lifting at one stage. She nearly broke her back. So took me, we were on lockdown and probably took me, God, I don't know,
3 summers.
It's for 3 months to build it, where if I had something to do, it would have been done in 4 days or something.
Yeah.
But I did it, yeah. And
no,
I feel proud now.
But I don't even think I would attempt something like a deck. Like, I just don't have the confidence to, which is really unique because my dad can literally build anything. He used to build houses, builds his own furniture. Like, he's insane. And I just didn't pay attention, apparently, Joe, when I was
No,
between 2 and 6.
2 and 6, yeah. But all my family are, trades and engineers and all, and I didn't go that route. But show me something, and I'll have a bash. And I love growing vegetables, so I get a kick out of them. So
that's awesome.
I think whatever I look at, I'll kind of figure it out and go,
okay,
maybe that's the secret sauce that I have that I bring to companies, is I can go in, I can do a quick evaluation of what's going on, and can only address it to what mindset that the owner is at, so I don't overwhelm them with anxiety. Say, okay, we do this first and this and this.
Yeah. You can almost visualize the process, right? It's almost like our PMs. Our PMs, what I love about some of our team members is they can go walk a job down with a customer and see all the things they're pointing out, and they're already visualizing the piping run, right? The interferences in their head without it even being there. You essentially can do that with business strategies, what you're saying.
Yeah, I can sort of visualize it. And going back to sales, if you have people that are selling and they have the right technique, deals that they're losing, they'll get. And that could be an increase of nearly up to maybe 20% of the bottom line at the end of the year.
I don't want to shortchange you, Joe, because I know we talked a lot about sales, but mostly that's because I think I'm extremely ignorant to it. It's really interesting for me to talk to people who are really good at it and processize it, put it in a process. So then it makes it comprehensible to me. Like, because I think it's this mythical thing that you throw fairy dust at people. The snake. But it's not. It's like, it's a system, and you learn the system and you get really good at it, and you just keep trying. It's like anything else, playing 5 songs on a piano. So you have a laundry list of things that you obviously have in your sheath. So like, can you run through all the things you provide or can provide a business so that everybody's very clear? Because one, I think it's fascinating, and I think people need to understand, like your LinkedIn. I was quite confused when I read through all the things that you're very good at. So can you run through some of that?
Really what we do is we go into a company, find our essence, help them package it up and sell it.
Ooh.
So we help companies with books. So, write that nonfiction book. We help them with their podcast. So not about them creating a podcast, but we interview them and do 10 mini podcasts for them. So we help them with that. So it's all part of the prospecting. We look at AI and automation, how they can speed up some of their processes. We teach their teams how to sell. We teach their teams how to prospect as well. And then we sort of look at how the whole business from that end can actually take in more revenue and become more profitable.
So it's kind of an all-in. Like you said, you bottle the essence. That's a brilliant whatever mission line or whatever. Is that your sales slogan? Because that's epic. We bottle your essence to sell to everyone in the world. That's wonderful.
Yeah, so
I love it.
Find your essence, package it up and sell it. Yeah, that's what it is.
That's a really deep statement. Maybe that's what I've been searching for, because I'm just not sold on all this vision, values, mission. Like I'm trying to get there. I'm actually doing an exercise right now. I'm reading Simon Sinek's, the Just Cause book, The Infinite Game. And I made a Google form that I have some of our team members filling out that have really deep questions about the company, what it means to them, what it means to come to work. And then I'm going to take all of those, and then I'm going to have those people talk to 1 or 2 of their direct reports and do the same process. And I'm going to package that all up, put it into AI, say, using the Simon Sinek Just Cause equation of the 5 things that are important, let's start running through some Just Cause statements to see if I can come up with the essence of what our company is.
Overload! Oh,
is that way
that
too
one?
much?
AI told me that, so it must be right. AI told me that one. No, that looks good. Hang on, we put it in.
I don't even know where to start. So I'm starting with real input from team members. I thought that was the best place to start. I don't know. Could be wrong.
The real part. Here's the crazy thing.
Okay.
We're all fighting for this.
Yeah.
Ooh. What is that? That's digital. We live in an analog world. You're analog. I'm analog. The trees, nature, everything. But the digital, I'm bringing him to the screen here. The digital,
he's showing his phone,
is a small percentage of what we do from business. But for some reason, it has overtaken the 90%. of what we think we do. So you have to strip back and go, okay, forget about digital and let's focus on our clients. Forget about AI for a moment, because that's an assistance, and focus on, what's the real value that we do? Why do I get up in the morning? And when you look at it from an analog perspective, at the digital, you start to then, like an onion, unwrap some of the things that you can assist people on. Because we're all fighting for this thing, which is disruption.
Yeah.
Everything else, it's only a small part of your world.
I've never thought of it that way. One of my questions is, why do you wake up in the morning, Joe? So at least I got something right with my exercise. But it is in digital form. Oh, shame.
I say to people, if you want to change, it's about discipline. It's about commitment. So if you don't like what's going on, or you want to work on something, that's from, weight loss to, successful business. You have to kind of go, okay, where do I want things to be? Where do I want to be in 3-4 years down the road? So you write that list out of where you want it. And then on the other side of that page, you go, what happens if I do nothing? And you get them to write out. For me, I'm still stuck where I am.
Yeah.
And then okay, what are the weekly and monthly small micro steps that I can do to make that? Like for me, I wanted to get up 2 hours earlier. I wanted to get fit again. I wanted to go back to the gym. I wanted to, there was multiple things, and I had to break them down. And what happened was those habits, which were an effort, then just came habits. Now they're nothing, because they're just unbitchable to me,
That's so timely, because we just started our second version of we have a company book club, and right now there's 36 members signed up for it, and we're starting Atomic Habits. And we have our first reading is due tomorrow. We meet as a group every Monday and Friday for 30 minutes and talk about what the chapter we read and kind of walk through it as a group. But essentially, I only read the preface so far, but that's exactly what the person's telling me. It's like micro wins, right, that start stacking up, that change your life over time in a huge way.
I think one of those books was The Power of Now.
Yes.
Yeah, one of them.
Yeah.
There's so many, people say, oh, what book would you recommend? Like, I read about 20 odd books a year. Yeah. So I can't really recommend one, but
I'm trying to do one a month right now, Joe. That's another thing. Like, I was never a reader until 2 Novembers ago. And then it's completely changed my life, which then I started the book club at work, because I was like, if this is opening my eyes, like, how many other people can it? And then we started this, and it's been progressively getting larger. So it's been a big change. But yeah.
Curiosity, it's the best gift that we have.
Love that. So Joe, where can everybody find you? Because you have a lot to give to a lot of people.
Just joedalton.ie, or really I hang out on LinkedIn, so people can find me on LinkedIn.
Cool.
I'm always happy to chat to people. That's really a chat.
So I got through maybe 3 of my questions because the conversation was so intriguing. Hopefully that's okay. I was just fascinated, one, by your insight and the knowledge of all aspects of business. So it was very helpful to me personally. So I want to thank you for doing this. One, doing it while you don't feel good. Thank you could have rescheduled. I would have been totally okay with that. But as you said, the show must go on.
That must go. I'm curious now, what were the questions?
I'll send them to you. You can look them over if you want. But no, screw that. It doesn't even matter, because I actually it took me probably about 30 episodes to get comfortable to get off script and not be so tied to my tag, right? Or my anchor of questions, to lose the structure a little bit and flow. I was struggled with that quite a bit, but now I'm getting more.
Yeah. There's a couple of key things when you're doing podcasting. Is first, if the person wanders off into no man's land, you have to pull them back. If you give someone a list of questions up front, they'll answer all the questions in the first paragraph. And I do interviews. I don't do questions.
Okay.
I don't. I do a bit of research on the person. I may have a couple of key things, just they're there in the bag, but I just listen to the conversation, and I listen to the person. And from there, like we did and what you did, we just, we have this, and we went in a different direction. But it was a conversation that was worth having between 2 people.
Well, I 100% believe that. You don't have to say that to appease me, but it was awesome. I'm with you. I'm using the questions more, like you said, as a bring back or a gap filler if there's dead area or anything like that. But when you start, I'm learning to pull on that thread more, like you said, keep walking down unless we're wandering in a meadow we don't want to be. So thank you for making it really easy, because not everybody does, certainly. And yeah, thank you for saying yes and being my first worldly traveler on the podcast. Thanks, Joe.
Thanks, Brandon. Thank you very much. Enjoyed that.
Thanks.